Alrighty, good morning, IA&B members. My name is Jason Ernest, President and CEO of IA&B, and I would like to welcome you to another one of our Lunch and Learn webinars, a popular format that our members have said that they really enjoy, and various topics that we bring to you that we think are timely and relevant for you. Before we jump into today's webinar, the usual administrative items that we go over for these webinars. First, as you just heard, we are recording this webinar. That's one for your use. Afterwards, if you want to follow up and review some of the things that you've heard, you have the recording available to you. We get that out to you quickly, but also for the benefit of all members. It is a member resource, either within your agency, others who may want to take part in this, but other members who aren't able to join us today. So we are recording this webinar. All participants, other than panelists, are muted, but we do promote and want you to submit questions. We do that via the chat feature. So you can find the chat feature as an option in this webinar. Submit your questions, any questions at any time. We will address those questions as they come in and as they're relevant to whatever we're discussing at that time. We always reserve some time at the end of the webinar to catch any questions that we haven't gotten to. And we do provide contact information for key staff at IMB as well as panelists so that you can follow up with any questions that you may have today. We like to keep these casual. We like to get your engagement in these. So please, as you have thoughts, questions, ideas, submit them and we'll review those. So with that, let's start. And I want to introduce today's topic. It's a little unique in that this is as much an IAB testimonial as it is a member resource. We use these webinars to bring resources to you, but today it's an IAB testimonial as well. And I'll explain that here in a second. We believe that IT breaches are a critical issue for our members as independent insurance agencies, as businesses that are part of financial services. This is something that we need to be on top of. We know that our members have various resources for doing that. Their local IT providers or longtime partners that you've used. But we still think this is a critical issue that agents need to be aware of, on top of, and addressing. And now the testimonial part. It's no different for IAB. We take our member data and all data that we have at IAB extremely seriously, and we ensure that we have all protections. We do everything we can to ensure the strongest level of protection for our member data. So that brings us to today's presenter, and that is the IT firm SotirIS. We have been partners with SotirIS for going on 3 years now, and they have been wonderful at bringing to our attention what risks are out there, but taking it a step further. Not only what are the risks that are out there for us as a trade association, but what are protections that we can put in place to address those risks. And that is, as I said, extremely important to IAB. We have, over the last year, been very aware of breaches that have occurred with our member agencies. We get those emails that appear to be breach type or spam type or phishing type emails from member agencies. So we are seeing that firsthand. We have seen an uptick in those where we will call the agency and ask if it's legitimate, and 9 times out of 10 it isn't, and they've informed that there's been a breach and to delete those messages. So we're seeing an uptick in that. We're proud to say that from IMB, we haven't had that instance yet, but we believe that to be because of the protections in place. And that is why we want to bring you today's webinar. We have, over the last year, incorporated significant protections, namely Microsoft Defender XDR. Through the assistance of SotirIS, it has been wonderful for us. A little bit later, you'll see proof with some numbers that IAB can share about our protection level. And we want to bring that to you, whether this is something new to you so that you can become informed about it and talk about it with whatever provider you may have, or if you want to take the testimonial of IAB and utilize SotirIS as a trusted provider. It is IAB's IT provider and one that we think you can benefit from. So whatever boat you're in, we think this is an important topic to learn about. to understand what the risks are, to understand what the protections are, and then to consider how you might incorporate it on your end. So, with that introduction, I'm going to introduce Mark Wilson from SotirIS. He's going to lead us through the discussion. As I mentioned, questions or comments, please submit them via chat. I'll be monitoring and jumping in. But I want to get to today's topic, and I want to introduce you to Mark Wilson from SotirIS. Mark, take it away.
Thank you, Jason. And thank you for the awesome testimonial. I'm sitting here thinking maybe you should have done my part of the presentation instead of me. I really appreciate it. And thank you for allowing us to present to your membership and to the members and attendees. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. And I'm pretty certain that you're going to find this information very, very interesting. I will point out that we had in our slides about unmuting for questions, but obviously that you'll need to do it in the chat, and that's fine because not only is Summer and Jason monitoring the chat, but we are as well. So we will make sure to catch your questions. So today's agenda, three primary points that we want to talk about. The threat landscape today, which is growing and is very quickly and efficiently with the introduction of AI into the malicious toolset. Chris Spack, our lead consultant for Defender XDR, will explain each of the components of Defender XDR. Zach Wilson, senior consultant at SotirIS, will discuss the implementation services from SotirIS. And then we can talk about next steps. Hopefully we'll have gained enough attention that you'll want to talk to us a little bit further about this. I want to start out with a quick slide about current breaches. This slide actually outlines ransomware attacks in the month of July, last month. There were 811 reported ransomware attacks, and that's a 15% increase over June. So we are seeing an uptick, just like Jason mentioned. They're seeing an uptick in phishing emails. That it is a growing issue. There's 5 incidents here listed. I only want to focus on one of them, which is the TruStage Financial Group, the one on the far right. TruStage is a financial services and insurance services organization for federal credit unions and their members. So this incident was very new, so they really haven't explained exactly what the incident was, but we do know that there was a data exfiltration issue at TruStage. So member information and federal credit union information was exposed and downloaded by the hacker. So the July breaches all had all the different types of incidents. Identity, where users were their credentials were exposed and caught by the hackers. Email incidents where like the email phishing, somebody receives an email, they think it's legitimate, they click on the link and it's a malicious website where their credentials were breached by the hacker. Public-facing apps and SaaS data, that's more around websites and other malicious software activities occur. And then finally, AI-driven attacks. AI attacks are growing exponentially. They're very, very fast. They're very efficient. They're able to identify vulnerabilities and take advantage of those vulnerabilities very quickly. The information on this slide is important. The average time to detect and contain a breach, 241 days. Sounds like a long time. In many cases, it's not that long, but the reason that they can be this long is hackers will gain access to a system and they'll sit there and watch. And what they're watching for is valuable data, valuable users, and looking to take advantage of that information. So once they've identified the information, the valuable information that they want to take advantage of, then they launch the attack. So end user company is not aware that they're in their system. And then once they do launch their attack, then the IT company or IT provider for that company takes actions to stop the breach. But in most cases, it's too late. They've already downloaded the information that they want. 60% of the breaches involve a human element. And what that is what we've talked about already, is the email attacks. Somebody gets an email, they click on a malicious link and enter their information, their credentials, things like that. Social engineering. Somebody will actually call a user and identify themselves as an executive or an IT person and ask them for their credentials. They don't realize it's the case and provide that information to that caller. Another thing we're starting to see, it's not as prevalent yet, but it's coming, is AI. People are calling in. Summer may get a call from Jason. It's his voice. It's the way he talks, and she thinks it's actually Jason, but it's an AI breach. So just amazing things coming from AI. The average cost of a data breach, I was going to talk about this in dollars and cents, but I felt that the percentage, it resonates better with you, the attendee. You can look at your annual revenues and say, if we have an attack, I can plan on having a 7% of our annual revenue is going to be the cost of that breach. Something that we're focusing on today is the mixed security tools, where you have email security, you have endpoint protection, you have website protection, but they're disconnected and they don't communicate with each other. 52% of executives realize that they are in that situation. Microsoft Defender XDR is the industry leader in extended detection and response. And that's what XDR stands for, extended detection and response. So what that means is, with the extended detection and response, is that we have an integrated set of security tools that monitor and look for malicious signals in your system. So fortunately, Microsoft has been recognized as the industry leader, and you can see here some of our competitors: CrowdStrike, Palo Alto Networks, SentinelOne, Bitdefender. You may or may not have heard of any of those. You may have some of them deployed. We are out in front of those other technologies. CrowdStrike being the closest competitor, and they have some issues around email security. So Microsoft definitely is leading the industry with these technologies. This slide lists the XDR components as well as our related services. And you can see the components on the left-hand side. I'll just review them very quickly. Chris is going to go a little more in depth. Defender for Endpoint is the endpoint detection and response, or you may know it as antivirus, anti-malware solutions, tools. Defender for Office 365 is advanced email security. Defender for Identity keeps track and monitors users' credentials, their username, their password, and where they're being used and applied. Defender for Cloud Apps monitors applications across your network to make sure that users aren't going to applications that are not being used, or being used and should not be being used. I got a poll on my screen. Oh, there it goes. Defender for Vulnerability Management, and this one is becoming more and more important every day. This tracks your software updates and patching to make sure that your software and devices are up to date. I mentioned earlier about how artificial intelligence being used in malicious attacks, it's primarily looking for those vulnerabilities. So when AI identifies a vulnerability in a software device, it takes advantage of that and moves in and starts tracking through your system. So very, very important piece. Microsoft Purview is primarily around data loss prevention. And what that does is it prevents, it monitors files being uploaded, downloaded, deleted, and able to stop that if it's a malicious type of attack, or if the user doesn't have the authority to do that, and it identifies something like that. So we are specialists in all of these components, and work very hard to continue to grow and increase our knowledge, in purposes of managed services and optimization. So that is my part of the presentation. I'm going to pass it on to Chris Spack, our lead consultant for XDR, and he's going to review each of those components and tell you more about it.
Mark, before we jump over there, and that's good intro. One thing that frequently comes up when talking to members about this is we have various protections in the agency. So our agency management system has incorporated features that protect, apparently our email system perhaps has that, but I think I saw a footnote in one of your slides that doesn't mean you aren't defended. It's whether all these various pieces talk to each other and are there gaps. Can you just elaborate that a little bit to maybe clarify a question perhaps some participants have?
I will on a high level. Chris is going to dig a little deeper into the centralized and consolidated monitoring. But we do all of those components that I showed you. All of these components are integrated. Oh, you can't see it yet. There it is.
Yep.
All of these components are integrated, are communicating with each other and communicating with XDR. So this is a platform that all of the signals from every one of these components is tracked and identified as legitimate or malicious. And it errs on the side of malicious. So if something looks strange, it's going to send out an alert and create an incident. Is that what you're looking for, Jason?
Yeah, that's partly, and look forward to Chris's discussion where we get into it. And then another question came up, and again, if this gets ahead of things, apologies, but I think a relevant question early on is there a cost to Defender, or is that part of your Microsoft 365 subscription?
So pieces of this are part of possibly part of your Microsoft 365 subscription. Defender XDR is actually free. It's the components that make up that are subscriptions. So, and there are several. I will honestly admit that Microsoft licensing is not the most straightforward approach, but we are willing and able to help your members identify the appropriate components to complete the XDR platform. And there are
we can talk a little bit later about what IA&B is doing. I think it's probably pertinent and analogous to our members, so that's also a discussion point. But that's good. So
right,
good.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. Because you can buy each component separately. There's also some suites that include the components. There's also some of the Microsoft 365 business subscriptions include piece components. So unfortunately, it's a little confusing, and but we certainly can clarify.
Yeah, I think the advantage of IA&B going down this road is almost as a test case that we then can relay to our members. But again, we'll talk about that. So, Chris, sorry to hold you up there, but the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mark and Jason, for that introduction. Mark and Jason talked about the why of Defender XDR and information security in general. What I'm going to talk about is how Defender XDR helps us protect client systems and data and recognize when normal business activities may actually be part of an attack. So Mark had talked about the components of XDR, and what I want you to do is think of the components of XDR as a team of security specialists sharing information instead of working in separate rooms or companies in isolation. XDR is the central hub where all of this specialized work comes together for us to review and take action when needed. Together, these tools provide 4 things you use every day. They protect the 4 things: your identity, your devices, your email, and the agency's information. The real value of XDR is that these tools share what they see with us. Each component can detect something useful, but XDR connects the observations together. Instead of 6 disconnected warnings in 6 products, our team and security teams can see one connected incident in one pane of glass. For us, this means better context, faster prioritization, and clearer understanding of which users, devices, applications, and data may be affected. For agency employees, this can mean faster resolution and less disruptions. For agency leadership, this provides a clear picture of what was affected. The easiest way to understand this is to walk through a simple attack story. Imagine an employee working on an urgent policy renewal receives a DocuSign email, thinking that is the email that they have been waiting on, opens the message and follows the link, which turns out to be a convincing phishing email. That link leads to a fake sign-in page, and the employee provides their credentials. Well, the attacker is able to obtain those credentials and then signs into their account, accesses additional systems, which we highlight here as lateral movement, and then through that lateral movement finds that they have access to highly confidential and useful, profitable information in a ransomware attack and downloads that information. Without XDR, these warning signs can look unrelated. With XDR, we can recognize that suspicious email, the unusual sign-in, and the unexpected download may all be part of the same attack. That connected picture helps us respond faster with effective actions such as stopping access, isolating the affected device from the rest of the network, and or securing the employee's account, all from within XDR. So one incident story rather than 4 unrelated alerts. That reduces the investigation time and gives us more confidence in the actions we take. And the next screen I want to show is what that connected story looks like to a security team. So this is what we see on our side. Defender XDR connects the different warning signs from the Defender components into a timeline that you see on the left-hand side there, and generates a graph that maps the relationships among the accounts, the devices, the mailboxes, and the activity that can happen in our example scenario from the previous slide. Using these views, we can quickly understand what happens or what is happening, who or what may be affected, and what actions are needed to be taken. This kind of visibility also improves communication after the event. Agency leadership is going to want a concise account of the incident and what actions were taken. A connected system like XDR makes this account easier to build. And as we've been going along, through Mark's presentation and mine up to this point, we've been, identity has come up over and over again as an important part of that story. Many attacks no longer look like somebody brute forcing their way through a firewall. They can look like ordinary employees signing in. If an account is compromised and a password or session is unknowingly stolen, the activity initially looks like normal business access. The stolen account can sometimes be used without installing anything on the employee's computer. That's why protecting sign-ins is just as important as protecting devices. That is why identity has become a core security control. An attacker may sign in from a different location or country, use a cloud application, and exploit permissions that an account was given elevated permissions and forgotten about some time ago. Defender for Identity and the broader Microsoft identity ecosystem looks for patterns that don't fit normal behavior. The lesson here is that strong passwords work best when they're combined with multi-factor authentication, appropriate access, and prompt reporting. Technology can watch identities and devices, but organizations also have to address the intersection between the people and the information that they're using. Again, we've been talking about this a couple of times now, but employees are trying to do their jobs often under time pressure using multiple applications and sharing more information than ever before. The goal we have is to provide helpful guardrails so that employees can use and share information safely, especially when work is moving quickly. Defender XDR supports these in 3 ways: helping employees recognize threats through realistic attack simulations and standalone training campaigns in Office 365, understanding where information is being used with Defender for Cloud apps, and applying protections to sensitive information with Purview. Together, these capabilities address both behavior and information movement. We educate people to recognize and react to threats, observe activity, and apply protections based on the sensitivity of the business data. So let's start with the user awareness side of that equation. Attack simulation training allows organizations to run safe, controlled simulations of the common social engineering attacks, like phishing or the other social engineering tactics that Mark had highlighted. No real attacker is involved, and the object is not to embarrass employees. The goal is to practice in a safe environment, identify what messages are most convincing, and make it easier for employees to recognize and report the real thing. A simulation if a simulation is especially convincing to an employee, that employee can be provided with immediate on-demand training sessions of the warning signs that were easy to miss. That is more useful than giving every employee the same annual presentation, assuming that the message was retained. This helps the organization improve future training and understand what types of messages require more practice. So let me go ahead and take a pause here, take a drink. If there's any questions that have popped in the chat regarding attack simulation training, or if you want me to go over anything about the Office 365 and email protection, now would be a great time for that.
So Chris, as we see if any questions come in, this will be a good chance for me to step in and say IA&B is utilizing all these pieces. We've utilized the simulation, attack simulation. We've helped it to incorporate our policy. So this has been a very valuable piece. And what it does is, I like what you said. It's not meant to embarrass any employees. It's meant to give awareness to the employees. They know to look for it. And as a result, because they know to look for this, they now know to look for something that doesn't look right and report it immediately. So a really nice piece. It goes to our earlier question. Even if you plan to incorporate the included Defender component that's included, you still have to take the time to turn on various pieces and make sure you're fully utilizing it. So hoping that you're seeing some awareness about these features, and again, know that IA&B has been out there and testing these, and we can really speak to the value of these. So not seeing any questions. I think everything's pretty clear here, Chris, but if you want to elaborate on that, or if you want to continue, feel free.
Oh, go on. So the next slide here I want to highlight is, explains, why this all matters. Companies like yourself, you're receiving urgent requests and messages from outside parties. Attackers are imitating those familiar workflows. That's where a well-run simulation program helps identify patterns without turning security into a blaming exercise like Jason highlighted. It allows your organization to provide extra guidance where it is needed, test whether the reporting habits are improving, and make the exercises relevant to the threats employees actually face. The desired outcome here is not a perfect score. The desired outcome is a workforce that pauses, recognizes the warning signs, and reports suspicious activity quickly enough to security teams for actions to be taken. And it's that, the information that's being, provided to and from outside organizations or other systems that you guys have, that's where that leads into the question of, or the next visibility challenge that we have that can be dealt with Defender for Cloud apps. It gives the organization greater visibility into how cloud services are being used. For agencies, this matters because information can move quickly through web applications. That includes approved business applications, and sometimes employees find useful tools online before the organization has had an opportunity to review how those tools handle customer information. At a high level, Defender for Cloud Apps supports 3 goals: visibility into the applications being used, control over risky access or sharing of information, and a faster response when cloud activity is connected to a broader incident. The following example shows how that visibility appears in practice. Suppose an employee finds an online tool for summarizing a customer document. These views help the agency to determine whether that service is appropriate before sensitive information is uploaded. On the left is an example of the cloud discovery information that we can see and provide to organizations. This helps the organization understand which applications are being used, and they can determine which applications may deserve some more review. On the right is an example of applications being categorized. The point is not to ban every new tool. The point is to make informed decisions. Some applications may be approved and sanctioned, while others may be inappropriate for sensitive business data and need to be unsanctioned. This becomes increasingly important as employees experiment with the generative AI tools and other rapidly changing services. A tool may be convenient and helpful, but employees may not know where data is when uploaded data is stored, who is accessing it once it's uploaded, and whether it's appropriate for customer data to begin with. Innovation should continue, but it should happen with visibility, clear expectations, and controls that reflect the sensitivity of the information involved. And the visibility in the applications and the data that's being transported leads naturally into a broader question of protecting the data itself. The Defender components help us recognize and respond to threats, where Purview protects the data that the agency uses every day, including the customer and business data that you're using. Purview in itself is a suite of solutions that fall into the three categories you see on screen: security, governance, and compliance. For today, there are three things to remember about Purview. It helps organizations understand what sensitive data they have and where it is located, provides ways to categorize and manage it through its lifecycle, helps employees use and share that information safely, and provides mechanisms to log, audit, and prevent sensitive data from being sent somewhere where it should not go. So an example of this is working with organizations early on in implementation of Purview. We look at we consult with the organization and come up with labeling for sensitive data. And you might have data that you have that's highly sensitive and only useful, and you only want shared within the organization. And we can apply a label to those documents and apply Purview protection policies for those. So, if somebody accidentally tries to email a document containing, that has the labeling for internal use only, highly sensitive, Purview can be set up with a policy that, does one of two things. It can either warn the sender that they're about to send information that they shouldn't send out, and then allow them to reconsider sending that email, or we can take the approach of just not allowing that email to go out at all, and they would get a report saying, you tried to send this email, we did not complete that action, and here's why. So that is one of the protections, the data loss protection policies that Mark had talked about earlier. So the key takeaway from my portion of the presentation here is that Defender XDR helps us connect and respond to threats, while Purview itself helps protect the data that your agency depends on. As we've talked about earlier, if you have any questions now, as I wrap up my portion of the presentation, go ahead and drop them in the chat. If you want to talk about anything later on, my contact information is in the screen and is in one of the slides that will be provided in the wrap up. And for now, if there are no questions, I would like to turn over the discussion to. Oh, okay.
Yeah, we do have one question that came
Oh,
in, Chris, and that is, do you believe that cyber and IT go hand in hand, or could cyber protection be one company and IT with another? Very good. And that gets to my question a little bit earlier. Is that we are certainly aware that these agencies have various components with the agency management system, other pieces. Is it best to sort of keep those separate, the cyber IT, or do you guys think it's better to have one sort of fail-safe approach to this and have it all incorporated?
Jason, this is Mark, and
Yeah.
I'll do that. We actually, one of our talking points with potential clients is we're not looking to replace your IT company, the company that installs your servers and your PCs and gets you connected to the cloud and those types of technologies. We will work hand in hand with those providers to make sure that they have the best security, the most advanced security. So we are not looking to displace their existing IT provider. We're looking to augment them and make them more secure.
Okay. That's a succinct answer. And then perhaps you know the reference to EE involvement in implementation, how much occurs with SotirIS?
Oh, E2E. So, huh?
No, it's how much EE involved. That means employee involved.
What is EE? Sorry.
Employee, looks like perhaps employee education and
Oh, okay.
implementation.
Okay. So the attack simulation is very much end user oriented. The back end configuration and policies and rules does not involve the employees at all. So we work with organizations, leadership, to make sure we're adjusting the rules and the policies that don't impede their work day. So the age old paralysis by analysis, paralysis by security is a similar situation, and so we do everything we can to avoid that. And if we do make something too tight, we obviously will loosen it very quickly to make sure that the user has the access they need. And we can adjust the policies to specific employees and to groups of employees. So we can make it more secure for a certain group and less secure for another group. We work hand in hand with the client, which I'm sure you can attest to make sure we have those policies set properly.
So that's exactly where I was going. Thanks, Mark. And I think, some value to this webinar and why we're doing it is IMB again as a use case here. We have a dedicated individual, Summer Fickus, who is part of today's sitting in on today's webinar. She's our business process manager at IMB. She lives and breathes this, ensures that everything behind the scenes is operating correctly to the benefit of our staff and ultimately to the benefit of our member agencies. Summer is working closely with SotirIS and setting the parameters and ensuring all these pieces are in it. That allows our staff, and I think this is a key thing for member agents to know, it allows staff to just focus on their day-to-day functions. This is not a concern to them, nor should it be, except for they can, pretty well be rest assured that behind the scenes, these things are in place or working. Now they're going to see the sample simulation attacks. They're going to see we do some various phishing, sample phishing emails that go out to ensure our staff aren't clicking on it. So they'll see that. But when it comes to day-to-day education, we want that to be one central person at IMB that Summer, who's working closely with SotirIS. I like what you're saying, Mark, is we don't want a paralysis by analysis with staff because this can be overwhelming at times. And we know they have day-to-day jobs. So a very good question, but I think your response is right, Mark, that put this in the hands of those that manage it, let them set the parameters, let this run in the background. And it just allows staff to be assured that they can do what they need to do safely, securely. So,
Right. Yeah,
good.
just to further explain that just a little more, if there's anything that we feel could affect the end user, we're going to notify either the organization or the person that's responsible within the organization. And also the items that, like Chris mentioned, a notice may come up. The notices are very straightforward and there's contact information if they need more information. So
Yep.
it is very straightforward for the end users, minimal, if any, effect for the end user.
One
We
final
also,
piece to that, sorry, Chris, real quick here, but all this work has allowed us to really tighten our policies and procedures when it comes to IT for our handbook or separate. So the added benefit of all this is tightening policies, procedures, based on what we're learning from all this, based on the parameters we've set. So our employees are certainly getting much more details when it comes to what we're looking for at IAB, but that's a benefit as well. So we're all on the same page. We're all operating under the same guide rails. So it has been a nice added benefit to this. So Chris, I think you were jumping in there.
oh, I just wanted to add too that, when it comes to when we're talking about training, what we often do is we have produced videos and documentation on the various aspects of the different components. And what we end up doing is, in your case, we'll send it to Summer, who then disseminates it out to
Correct.
the employees. So, that way, if there's in addition to the attack simulation training, we provide, okay, we're gonna turn on email security. Here's what this is gonna look like. Here's what may or may be different. Here's how quarantine emails are gonna be dealt with from now on. So we do provide training for the end users, but we don't send it to every user. We allow you guys to,
Correct.
is needed,
Yep.
and then put it into the context that you see fit.
Very good point. So excellent. All right. So we have approximately about 10 minutes here. We'll open up to some final questions. But Zach, I believe you're batting cleanup here. So you wanna-
Yeah, I'll keep it nice, short, and sweet here. So, first, I was going to go over the Microsoft Secure Score. The Secure Score is our roadmap for deploying Microsoft XDR. Before we deploy XDR, we want to have a baseline. The Microsoft Secure Score gives us a measurable starting point. We use it to guide the rollout across identity, devices, apps, and data, which are the main 4 categories that make up the Secure Score. And those are the 4 most common areas that are attacked by hackers. Most clients start around the 30 to 40% range. After the first week or two of remediation, we see that jump up to a 60 to 70% range. And then our end goal is for a high 80s to a low 90 percentage. It's tough to get to that high 90s, 100%, because as we were discussing, if you put out too many policies, your employees may not be able to work. So you got to kind of get we'll ignore some policies potentially if it doesn't make sense. And you can see here on the right side of the screen is actually the Secure Score for insurance agents and brokers. They started in the 46% range, I believe. And now they are up to an 88, and we're hoping to keep improving that as more policies come out and we continue to add policies and optimize them. Next. Once we understand where the client stands and the Secure Score, the next question is who they trust to help close those gaps. That is where SotirIS comes in. SotirIS helps clients deploy Microsoft XDR in a way that is measured, practical, and built for long-term security improvement. This slide is about what makes our approach different. A lot of providers can talk about security tools or licensing, but our focus is on measurable security improvement. We help clients identify the right priorities, deploy them correctly, measure progress with Secure Score, and continue improving their security posture over time. We're not just handing over recommendations. We are taking the solution from planning through the rollout and ongoing support so that the client has a real security program and not just another product. So how does that actually look in practice? We break the engagement into 4 phases. Our rollout is broken into the 4 phases of assess, deploy, optimize, and operate. First, we assess the environment by capturing the Secure Score. Then we review the architecture, which will include your current security tools you're using and programs, as well as we were talking before, the licensing. We'll go over the licensing, see what you need, let you know how much that'll be, get that figured out, and maybe even find ways to combine things to make it a better price. And then also, as we just discussed earlier, we'll identify those no-go policies that will cause disruption to the end user. We have a list of those that we'll discuss with every client to make sure, okay, do you guys use this? Do you use this? We don't want to roll something out and then we get an email saying no one can work right now. What's going on? So we go over that, and then we build a prioritized remediation timeline so that okay, we're going to do this day, this day, and so forth. This gives us a clear roadmap instead of just turning on settings blindly. Second, we deploy in stages. We typically start with the test group, and then we validate the impact on the test group, see if there's any issues. Once we see no issues, we'll communicate that, okay, we're going to set this company-wide and turn the policies on. Third, we optimize. This means fine-tuning policies, reducing unnecessary noise, document exceptions, and continue to work through the secure score recommendations in a way that makes sense for the business. Finally, we operate. This includes the attack simulation and training, alerts monitoring and remediation, ongoing secure score improvement, and executive reporting so that the executives know what's going on with XDR and where things stand. The goal is not to just deploy XDR once. The goal is to keep improving the client security posture over time. Just to conclude, XDR is not a one-time setup. It is a measured security program that starts with visibility and continues with improvement. Next, Mark is going to review this page. It is our SotirIS AI advisory page.
Thank you, Zach. Yes, so SotirIS SotirIS Information Strategies, our tagline is a cybersecurity and AI advisory. So what we talked to you about today was our cybersecurity offering with Microsoft Defender XDR. We also provide artificial intelligence advisory and consulting. And our approach to AI is that we want to educate and secure your AI efforts. So what we are working towards is educating your end users how to use AI in an effective and secure manner. Many people aren't aware that using cloud models, AI models, can be very risky. Entering secure and sensitive data, financial data, into a cloud model makes that information available to others unknowingly. So we really take that approach. Also, for on the education side, is to teach the end users how to effectively use AI. What are good? How to create a good prompt? How to create and utilize agents? And that makes AI a more productive instead of learning it on your own. And there are capable. For example, we focus primarily on Microsoft Copilot, but we also deliver consulting services for other models like ChatGPT and Claude and other models. There are many there's a lot of functionality within Copilot that an end user is just not going to find. So we work hard to teach the end users how to find those capabilities and take advantage of them. And again, always in a secure manner. We really took on the artificial intelligence advisory as an offshoot of our Defender XDR advisory because they work hand in hand in making sure that your data is secure and your end users are productive. So we're in talks with IAB about delivering a webinar like this for AI, and we welcome your feedback to IAB about your interest level in that type of webinar. So please feel free to reach out.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. I certainly wanted to bring that up. IAB it's certainly, I'm not even going to say on our radar. It's front and foremost for our discussions as to the next area we go into. We know AI is a huge question for our members. We know it is unwieldy. AI is no longer specific to one thing. It is a huge umbrella. So we're working, collaborating with other states to determine determine, what agents need and how we may deliver it. So if you have interest in some future webinars related to AI and some resources for you as an independent insurance agency, please let us know because we can compile that and start those discussions. What's funny is Mark, prior to today's webinar, asked if IMB would mind sharing our Defender score, and we're actually proud of that number approaching 90%. We started, as was mentioned, low around 40%. So it's been a year-long process of incorporating these pieces, incorporating these tools. There's never a guarantee, even if we're in the high 90s. There's so many threats out there. But what we've done at IMB is ensure that we've taken all protections, all protocols to ensure the safety of our members' data and our data. So we're doing everything we can, and that's what we wanted to get across in this webinar. We want to make sure that members know what's out there, a tool set that is relatively easy to incorporate, and we have an agency management system. We have the various accounting software programs that all of you guys have. So this system works cleanly with that and has put up a wall that we think best protects IMB. We really want you to do the same as a member agency. So hopefully you learned some things today. Hopefully it's generated some additional questions. To that point, you have resources. Mark's contact information is up right now. Feel free to reach out if you want to discuss anything further about XDR or anything else that SotirIS offers. You also have IMB as a resource. Again, we are a test pilot for this. We are a testimonial for this process. So feel free to reach out to us and talk further about how we're utilizing it and how it works. But this is beginning stages to get you thinking about how to protect your information best. We really want to see all our members taking advantage of that. This is something that is extremely timely for independent insurance agencies. So think IMB as a resource for that. Reach out with any questions. Gentlemen at SotirIS, no final questions. So I think you guys covered a lot and answered questions for those that are participating. I want to thank you guys at SotirIS for your time today, your resources, and we will be getting this out to all membership. As I mentioned, this recording, but for those of you that participated today, thank you for your time. Thanks for the questions, and be on the lookout for future webinars from IAB on this and other topics. So gentlemen at SotirIS, thank you very much. Members, as always, thank you, and stay tuned for more resources from IAB. Everybody have a great rest of the day.
Thank you, Jason.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Much appreciated. Take care, everyone.